Welcome to Slow Home Studio. In today's tutorial, we're going to learn how to use an architectural scale. And in the previous tutorial, John explained the overall concept of scale and how it relates the size of an architectural plan to dimensions in the real world. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to actually learn how to measure things and items in the plan using the scale. And this is an architect's scale, and if you don't have one, they are available for sale through our Slow Home Studio website, and we will send one to you. They're a very, very handy device, particularly if you're contemplating doing a renovation or a remodel to your home. On this particular scale, there are 12 different scales that relate to different size drawings. So the first thing that you have to do is you have to figure out which of the scales on the ruler you're actually going to use in relation to your drawing. And our drawing is 1/4 inch equals 1 foot. So what that means is that for every 1/4 inch on our plan, it is equal to 1 foot in reality. So the very first thing we have to do is to find that scale on the ruler itself. So come in and have a look here, and you'll notice that on the ruler, there are all of these different numbers on the edges. And like I said, there are 12 different scales on this ruler. But if you look onto the ends, you will see what the scale of a particular end of the ruler is. And this one says 1/8, this one says 1/2, this one says 1, and this one says 1/4. And our scale of our drawing is 1/4 inch equals 1 foot. So we know that this 1/4 is the side of the ruler that we need to use. So that's the very most important thing that you have to do. The second thing is you have to be able to figure out how to use the measurements and the increments on the ruler and relate them to the drawing. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So you're going to have to come in closer, and this is where you have to use your eagle eyes because it's very, very small, but I'm going to show you. First thing you need to do is you need to find the 0, because the 0 is where you start to measure from. And you'll notice that on an architect's scale, unlike a regular ruler, the 0 is not at the end. It's actually kind of about a centimeter or so in from the end of the ruler. And that's the starting point. So what that means is that everything to the left of the ruler, these lines here, and you see the number 2, those are 1 foot increments. So that's 2 feet, that's 4 feet, and that's 6 feet. These small little half lines represent 6-inch increments. So everything to the left of the 0 reads in 1 foot increments and 6-inch increments. So this number here would be 5 feet. This number here would be 4'6". So that's the first thing. The second thing that you need to know is that everything to the right of the 0 represents 1-inch increments. And this is where you have to have supersonic eyes, because these marks are extremely small. But each one of those to scale represents an inch. So you can actually measure at a 1/4 inch scale down to the inch. So that's 3 inches, 6 inches, 9 inches, and 12 inches. So now that we know that, let's try to measure something in our plan and figure out how big it is. So what we're going to measure is we're going to measure the dining room table, because it's a good, easy thing to measure because it's a rectangle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the dining room table, and the first thing you need to do is you need to line the 0 up perfectly with the edge of the table like that. You can see I've got my 0 lined up with the edge of the table. I'm going to measure the long length of the table first. So I'm simply going to count. That's 1 foot, 2 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet, 5 feet, and 6 feet. So we know that the table is at least 6 feet long, but we also know it's a little bit longer than 6 feet because part of it is hanging off the edge of the 6 there. So what you do is you then slide the scale so the 6 lines up perfectly with the edge of the table, and then you count backwards from the 0 side to figure out how many inches more than 6 feet it is. And it's 3 inches more than 6 feet, which means the long length of that table is 6 feet and 3 inches long. Do you see how that lines up with the edge there? So now let's measure the short edge of the table. So I'll just turn the ruler the other way. Again, first thing you need to do when you're taking a measurement is you need to align the 0 with the end that you're measuring. So I've aligned it up, and you're going to count back 1, 2, 3 feet. So I know that the short length of the table is 3 feet plus a few inches. So to figure out the number of inches, I'm going to slide the ruler down so that the 3 lines up at the edge of the table and count back, and it's 3 inches. So the short length of the table is 3 foot, 3 inches. So that's one thing you can do with the scale ruler. The second thing you can do is you can actually use the scale ruler to draw something on sketch paper to scale and see how it fits on your plan. So I'm going to show you how to do that. And this is where it starts to get really fun and interesting, because you can try placing furniture or different size things into your floor plan. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of sketch paper and I'm going to draw a bookcase, and I'm going to see how it fits into my floor plan. And I'm going to draw a bookcase that is 6 feet long and 12 inches wide, because that's a pretty typical dimension for a bookcase. So come in close and I'm going to show you how to do this. I'm going to mark the 0 and I'm going to mark the 6, because that's the length of my bookcase, and I'm simply going to draw a line in my pen between the two of them like that. And you don't have to be perfect. You just have to get the general sense of the scale. And it's 12 inches wide, so I'm going to mark the 0 and go back 1 foot like that. And then I'm just going to hand sketch the other 2 dimensions and close in my box. So now I've used the scale ruler to draw a bookcase that is 6 feet long and 1 foot wide. And now using the sketch paper, I can take that and I can see where I could place that. So for example, in this house, I would be able to place my bookcase against that wall in the dining room, because I have at least 6 feet in order to place the bookcase, and I would still have enough room to walk around to get into the dining room table. So there's a couple ways that you can use a scale ruler to both measure a floor plan as well as to draw an object and try to place it in the floor plan. In the next tutorial, we're going to discuss how to use templates to actually draw furniture and fixtures to scale on your floor plan.